So I'm actually, how is this? Is this better? What's fine? My normal is this. So, and I didn't want to blow everybody away, you know, okay, so I think we're good to go. Hi, how are you? Oh, sure. My pleasure to meet you. And feel free to reach out. Yeah. Enjoy the rest of the conference. So he'll be, my friend Jason here will be advancing the slides for me, as you can see. You know, actually, while he gets set up, hi everybody. I appreciate you coming to the presentation on how solar. How are you? How solar enables a small publishing company to provide first-class search experience to our customers. So solar-powered, revamping search, reshaping the publishing industry. So today I'm going to tell you a few things. This is essentially going to be more of a story. I have to say that it's quite a privilege to be here, and particularly on the same circuit as other people who have created and supported the technologies that we're consumers of. It's quite a humbling experience. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you our experience at Lulu as being consumers of this technology and the day-to-day challenges that we face, and how fundamentally solar enables us to provide first-class search to our customers despite our efforts. So I'll tell you a little bit about who we are and what we do and who we are. We also had our share of challenges with search technology, providing search for the long tail of content. So I'm going to keep the story a real story for you. I'm going to give you a peek into the real experience that we've had with search. So we've had to find our way with it. And then because of the technology, because we're solar powered, it provides the features and the facilities to give us first-class search. And through a little bit of effort and understanding, we have achieved and we continually achieve improved search experience. So, but there's just one thing I want you to remember. Actually, there's two things. When I wrote this, it was one thing. I'm going to add one other thing. If it weren't for solar, we wouldn't have search. And that's because we're a small company and we're not experts in search. But solar out-of-the-box offers the capabilities and the performance and the ease of use that enable us to just hook up our data, or pump our data in, map a few fields, and then we can deliver search to our customers. So despite the fact that we're not really experts in it, it keeps pace with our evolving initiatives and the changes that we've gone through in terms of like new product offerings. So just take this at the end of this, presentation. I want you to remember just this: that solar will help you despite your efforts. And the second thing that I want you to remember is that this is an open conversation. I invite you to ask questions as I'm presenting, and also to I am presenting to you as a opportunity to get to know you, so that we can have a dialogue over the future and hopefully that we can learn from each other. I joined Lulu back in July of 2009. I didn't have any search experience. No experience with solar, Lucene, or search technology, except for being a consumer of search technology, Google, Yahoo, etc. But this, I still have 14 years of software development experience in the enterprise and web space. A lot of Java experience, C#, the open source LAMP stack, and Microsoft technology. As I said, I have 1 year of search experience through Lulu, but being an engineer, I see, throughout my career, I've sought out challenges, and I enjoy the hard problems. And I'm here to tell you that since I've joined Lulu and have been thrown into the deep end with search there, I've been a kid in a candy store. It's a fun technology to work with. It's made the challenges that I normally sought out in my career to be an odyssey of discovery because of the power of the technology. And at the same time, so with this technology, with search, I'm a kid in a candy store, and I'm also a bull in the china shop, because you'll find out as I discuss the experiences at Lulu in subsequent slides, you'll find that, well, we're not a search shop, and it's not necessarily a priority, but it is to me. So I do champion the technology at the company. So who is Lulu? You probably know that we're a self-publishing service. We provide a open publishing platform that if you ever had an itch to publish a book, you can do that through Lulu at no cost to yourself. We offer the different manifestations of books. You can print, you can have hardcover printed, softcover printed, different sizes, binding styles. We take you through a process of creating your content. So ultimately, at the end, what you have is a first-class book, a book that you would buy at Barnes & Noble or find in the library. However, where we're different is that, first of all, no cost to you. Secondly, with the first-class book that you will publish, it's a print on demand. So whenever somebody orders your book, it's then printed and then shipped. Unlike other publishing houses that require that the book is printed in lots. And I'll get to that in just a moment. We also have worldwide distribution, global print on demand. You can find the books that you publish through Lulu on Amazon, and we're one of a select few vendors that can publish through Apple's iBookstore. So that's pretty exciting, considering the recent iPad release. We're also helpful, because I'm sure that some questions that might arise if you stop and think about, well, great, all right, so I can publish a book through Lulu and I can make it hardcover, and but my grammar or my spell check in Microsoft Word likes to correct things that should not be corrected. So we do offer a variety of services. We offer editing services and marketing services, press releases, and a whole soup to nuts variety of assistance for you to publish your book and to get it out to the message of it out to the world. And again, it's free for you. We don't charge for you to publish. The customer, you make money, and we make money when the book sells. The royalty split, sorry for the shameless plug, but the royalty split is actually better than the industry, in that you as the content creator will get 80% of the royalty. Lulu just takes 20% for hosting. We need to keep the server going. Also, another thing about Lulu is that we're actually a profitable company. We've been able to weather the Great Recession, and still we maintain being in the black without external investment, being a private company. But who really is Lulu? Well, actually, Lulu is, well, this is the owner, Bob Young. And I show you this picture because you can see that he's sitting at a desk on a chair made of books. Bob's a frustrated author. He, after moving on from Red Hat, he co-authored a book, but he had somebody help him write the book, and to have it published through a traditional publishing house, he had to have thousands of them created. And so he had this whole warehouse of books that unfortunately didn't really sell. Oh, by the way, at the end of the lecture, I have a copy for each one of you and everybody else. No, I'm kidding. But it's pretty much like that. So he made this. Had this desk and chair of his books made. He also decided that he was going to right that wrong, and he founded Lulu to democratize publishing. Furthermore, Lulu is a remarkable team of people. These are some of the smartest people that I've worked with in my 14-year career, and also without, Lulu is fundamentally the people who create content with us, because without our content creators, we wouldn't really exist. And we have quite a variety of them. Because we're a print-on-demand, because we democratize the publishing process, we also focus on the long tail of publishing. That's where we make our money. You've heard of Pareto's principle, the 80-20 rule. 80% is 80% of something is achieved by 20% of the population. Well, in this case, it's the inversion, where wow, pardon me. So that was officially the one hitch of the presentation. So we've got that out of the way, and I'm just going to put this back on the belt. But what the long tail is that there's a lot of individual unique content out there. And what we do is we appeal to very eclectic taste. So therefore, instead of focusing on the Dan Brown or the J.K. Rowling, we focus on each one of you, assuming that you had an interest in publishing a book. And it might be that each one of you are the only consumers of that particular book. That's a fact of life, but that's also a great service that we offer. So we offer the long tail, but it also offers interesting search challenges too, because it's very important that you find your title, that you find your particular content, that others find your particular content in a very accurate way. Furthermore, what I had not mentioned in the past, but is quite important, you own your content, we don't. So you can update it, change it, and, correct the spelling, and change the fonts, and all kinds of things. So we have frequent updates. The creators completely own it, so therefore we have a lot of changes in our content. So this is what I was talking about in terms of the long tail. The laser pointer here, can you all see that laser pointer? I'm using the force. This is the Pareto principle, and where 80% of the volume is consumed by 20% of this space here, which would be customers. However, what we seek to capture is the same volume of sales, but from the long tail aspect. So we're gonna appeal to everybody else, and so this is where our search problems lie in satisfying the long tail. So you know about Lulu. Well, I told you about me. Told you about Lulu. Told you why we exist. Gave you discussed. Gave you an idea of the kind of content that we host. And well, now it's time for the fun part. Now it's time for the stupid human tricks with search. Finding our way with search. Well, before I come in, and I can only tell you what I've heard in terms of lore around the company. We're a small internet company in Raleigh, North Carolina. It's a very active software community. So there is a bit of turnover, because there's always something better. The grass is always greener on the other side. And we've had, through Lulu, we've had our search expertise pretty much siloed in the minds of just one or two people at any given time. We've always had the classic search guy, but unfortunately the search guy is usually one or two people. So, but in the distant past, or pre-Paul, we've actually tried a number of different things. I've been told that we've purchased a Google search appliance, and I occasionally will talk to somebody, an old timer there, and they'll tell me, yeah, you want to see it? It's sitting in the corner in some closet somewhere, keeping things warm, or keeping the closet warm. We don't use it. We tried it. We don't use it. I don't know why. Probably because we did not want to pay for the Google fee. But we're a very clever company. We have very smart engineers, and we thought that we could make our own solar. I think at the time, this was about 3 years ago. We had some expertise in Lucene, but we didn't necessarily have an understanding of the ecosystem beyond it. So we had our own version of solar, a servlet host for a Lucene. The good thing that came out of that is that we had the clever engineer who had put that together, who's very good at multi-threading the indexing. However, that engineer, like the other ones, had transitioned on to another company. It's just the nature of the economy there, nature of the community, and he, because of that knowledge share moving out of the company, it was decided that we should standardize on solar, and at the time it was Solar 1.3. In the meantime, the Lulu application continued to evolve. So, as the Lulu application evolves, and what that really means is that the product team comes up with new products or services which require new fields, new values that need to be maintained in the solar index. We have an accretion of data into fields in this index, and as people move on, the knowledge of why these fields are there aren't necessarily maintained, but that's okay. But what's important to understand is that it's our creators' content which defines our company. So it's really important, our solar index is critically important, because it actually is the face to what we present to our customers, because it's essentially the maintenance of who we are. Now, this is a quick treatment of where we get our data from. We have a variety of databases which maintain the different content descriptions and sources, the different the metadata on our content, and we have ISBNs and ratings and reviews. We also have different services that will provide us with data on the content itself, like I had mentioned, ratings, reviews, and whatnot. These are all aggregated into the solar index upon the indexing process. And we, at the time, this is still back about a year and a half ago when I first joined, we pretty much used solar and search for searching, of course, but it was also a content server. Because when you hit our homepage, we had these shelves of books with in different categories, and that was all fed by search queries. So, and the drilling down into a snapshot of mid-2009, we're also a PHP application. Lulu started very much started as it was a classic startup, and the technology evolved and accreted around the original kernel of the idea. So we have a good number of we have a big amount of PHP, and our search API was it was written in PHP. However, it queried Solr, and with our current understanding of Solr's capabilities, and this is where I invite you, feel free to laugh. It's quite okay. Because back then, we were pulling XML, we were translating it in PHP, we were doing data mapping, and then pushing it to the UI. It was a painful process, and it was dark and scary code to work on. Trust me, I've had quite a few. It's great, appropriate for Halloween, however, this code. And then with Solr 1.3, we were using the single-threaded data import handler against those variety of databases and services that I had mentioned. We also, the engineers had wrote custom code request handlers to check to make sure that the index was readable. At the time, it was I'm assuming a necessity to determine if it was up and running. And we also run our Solr implementations on VMware instances. So this is a snapshot of what it was like back in mid-2009. This is pretty much when I came in. Another salient aspect to understanding what Lulu's experience with search is to understand that we don't have a search group, as I had mentioned. What we have are different development teams. These different development teams work in an agile-like way. We plan the features, or actually have the features planned for us, and there's a competition of what features should get out the door during particular iteration. And it's very much like fat men trying to get through a small door. There's only a few that win, and everybody has to get out at the same time. This is fairly cliche, so you have to pardon me for that, but what the real world experience is here is that search isn't a priority until it is. And then when it is, we only have a brief period of time to work on it. So what happens is that we without necessarily having the abiding understanding of the technology, we have to work with it and make it function to expectations, which are poorly defined at the time, to deliver the features that were planned for that particular 2 or 4 week iteration. And the teams, as I said, search is but one responsibility of many on the market team. And we have other teams that handle different responsibility, the publishing team, and then the user experience team. So that's kind of the situation. What I'm doing with you is to paint a picture that this is our real experience. We're not experts. We're a fast-moving company. We try a lot of things, and we don't necessarily succeed. But the technology itself, despite our efforts, helps us succeed. Now, one of our initiatives that we had put forth back mid last year was to incorporate trade content into our catalog. Now, I know that this is a long story, but as I said, this is a presentation meant to tell a story. So this, going back to mid last year, our product team had decided that we wanted to have our content creators be first-class citizens next to the J.K. Rowlings, the Dan Browns, the other popular authors, so that we can attract more external interest, more popular interest in our content, so that when people went to search, you would think, of course, why would you go to Lulu? Well, that would be a marketing and advertising responsibility to find out, to drive traffic in. But once they came in, they could see that, yeah, we have not only the popular titles, we also have the vast collection of our own creators' titles. And the intention was that the popular books would be pillars from which others, our content, our creators could then associate with. However, and then furthermore, we also added a great number of ebooks, because this was, we had ebooks for a number of years. However, this was more of a push to incorporate ebooks just prior to the, as well as just prior to the Apple's iBook store. So that was part of the initiative to move in that direction. What it ended up doing was tripling our content base, or our content catalog, of which we were not really truly prepared for. One of the challenges that we so direly face is that in development, even trying to simulate production is not a one-to-one experience. So when we triple our content, the whole game changes, and you'll see where that actually comes into play in just a moment. But, and also, furthermore, we had a number of years, we had 7 years of Lulu creator content only. And to incorporate trade books into the Lulu content, we actually had a second schema. And so it was using the data import handler. It was a tale of two data configs. And we had separate cron schedules to import Lulu content on a regular basis and the updates. Another cron schedule for importing trade content as it was updated. And what we tried to do is to separate those two indexes into different shards in thinking that it would solve the problem. But did it? We had it actually turned out that we had a lot of lessons that we had to learn. The sharding worked fine. However, we weren't quite ready for the 20-fold or the 20-hour indexing times that happened because of the tripling of the content. And keep in mind, we're using a single-threaded data import handler that is going to at least 4 different data sources, if not 6, depending upon if you're talking about Lulu content or trade content. So we have all these network calls, all of these dependencies upon different services, aggregating the data together into the index. The search page load times, I told you about the dark and scary PHP back in 2009. We had XML, we had to translate it, we had to map it. Now we have all this extra content. We had a sharded search, which we didn't quite implement efficiently, as was indicated by an increase in page load time, or in search result times, as well as page load times. And the results were less than optimal, because now what we have is a whole great vast variety of content. And we used a Dismax request handler, our search request handler. So we had a number of different fields of which we were polling, we were querying over. So having all this extra content without understanding how to use Dismax, we actually diluted our results. And we're not trying to sell ads here. We don't want people to linger on the page. We want them to find the content. So the search results were less than optimal. But search, Solar comes to the rescue. Being solar powered gave us the ability to pull ourselves out of this situation, with a little bit of help, of course, to have faster, better, and search experience, indexing, and page loads and whatnot. And also, and this was made possible because of the community that supports solar. So, how did it become faster? It became faster in terms of indexing, searching, and search page loads. And I'll discuss these and how they happen in just a second. And particularly, the faster indexing is is one of my points of achievement, of pride, because what I did is I had reached out to a lucid imagination consultant. I found that Grant Ingersoll lived in the same area that Lulu is, And I reached out to him, and we did lunch, and got to know each other, and I had shared with him some of our woes, and very generous with information. Gave me a tip to implement to use the SolarJ component to index our documents, because it could naturally be multi-threaded. So here we're going from a 20-hour indexing time. It would start, and it wouldn't necessarily always complete, because there could be service failures. We had another group work on a particular service that wasn't necessarily delivering on their SLA. So search being dependent upon it was just a struggle. However, with SolarJ, I could configure and more easily control what and how and what data we get, how we get the data, what data we get, and then furthermore, it was being naturally amenable to multi-threading. It was a lot faster. So, in addition to that, did explain analysis on the tables on the queries that we've issued to pull the data from Postgres, and we found areas where to index the column. This is another, as I said, practical experience. I understand that some of you, this may be very simple information, but I want to impress upon you that even though it's obvious to many of you, it wasn't obvious to this small company but a year ago. And the process of examining the indexes on our tables, of implementing SolarJ as a multi-threaded indexer, we went from a 20-hour indexing time to a 2.5-hour indexing time, which means that when we do releases, we can go from having to stage the release, over a 3-day period. We can actually achieve that within a 1-day period in QA. So that's a really impressive gain. So that was actually a benefit derived from the third point that I had made, that it's a well-supported community. It's a community with a lot of support. So, but I'll get back to that again. Faster searching. You're going to laugh. We were starving Solar. Before I had joined Lulu, it's a PHP Postgres Linux, Red Hat Linux shop. Very more friendly to Perl than to Java. So when I showed up, I was kind of like this strange bird that started saying crazy things like, you have to give it more heap memory. They're like, that's just wasteful. And I, from my years of Java experience, understand that, well, you can tune garbage collection, but you also have to give it room to breathe. We were at a half a gig of memory for the heap, and through persuasion, coercion, and insinuation, we went up to 5 gigs, which improved things dramatically. We also increased the cache size. This is information that came from the community as well, from the wiki page, from talking with other individuals in the community, saying, how do we improve our search results performance? Well, we do a lot of filter queries, and so therefore we increased the size of our filter cache. We were pointed to the direction of looking or investigating the admin stats page. These are all things that you may take for granted, but when you're plopped into, and this is nearly a year and a half ago, when you're plopped into an environment that you have no experience with, every understanding that's new is completely new. So tuning caches and then adding warming queries dramatically improved our response times for queries. Something like, our average times, I think, were in the probably about 15 to 30 milliseconds. Reduced them to like 5 to 15. So it was pretty decent. But this nowhere compares to the improvements that we got when we took a look at the schema itself, as well as the PHP that consumes it, and the facility that Solar offers to offer different response types instead of XML. What we did is we examined our catalog. We consolidated many of the different data sources into a denormalized schema. And we had those on a separate schedule of updates. So what we did is we refactored our Solar schema to support a PHP object model, and actually in concert with what products we present. The products that we present, that we maintain, were captured in the database table, as well as the Solar schema, and then we use the Solar PHP writer type to serialize PHP back to the client, thus eliminating the XML transformations, thus eliminating the XML or the data mapping, and all of the reach around the back to scratch your nose that we were doing in the search table. So we eliminated the data mapping layer entirely by serializing, and we had some fairly significant results. Now, what you'll see here is this is when we deployed the change. And it went from an average of 4 seconds per page load down to right around 2 in these different areas. So, and it's been fairly consistent, actually, if not better, since then. But I just wanted to give you, this was a graphic that I happened to have handy. This was the state that we were in at the time. And we found that with just using the facilities that are out of the box, they come out of the box with Solar, and rethinking our schema and our index a little bit, we can half the time that it takes to load the pages. So that was a lot of progress. We also learned how to use the DiskMax request handler. It was implemented prior to, or it was chosen to be the primary search request handler prior to my joining Lulu. When I started, I didn't know what DiskMax was or meant, or the implications of it. But what we did to improve the search results with DiskMax is we found this little configuration called minimum match, which allows you to adjust the matching of the phrases that the individual enters as search queries against the various content fields that you're searching over. For instance, if you have a title, and you have a title, C spot run, well, you want to, that title will be tokenized, and I'm assuming that most of you understand the tokenizers and how text is analyzed when ingested upon indexing, as well as the query time. Those tokens are split apart and normalized and stemmed and are processed in such a way that they can be searched over and in a fast and effective and normal way. However, when people search for strings of their own idea, a lot of searches that we get happen to be fugue state searches, I like to call them, because people are just searching for random stuff. However, there are a series of different words that actually make sense. And what I mean by that is that C spot run, well, somebody might search for C spot or spot run amongst other text that they're searching for. Well, the contiguous nature of these word associations are quite important in terms of matching content in our index, because that spot run will match a title in our index. So the minimum match enforces rules on how to associate the text that come in as queries against the text or the values that are in the field. And we also added phrase queries, which, who knew? Had no idea about the phrase query facility. But it turned out to be a dramatic improvement in our search relevancy, our search results, because people search for titles. This was not institutional knowledge. So we had help with this. We actually talked to Lucene Imagination, and they did a survey of our installation. And they gave us these tips that actually were quite impressive in terms of their results. I felt compelled to put a slide up on minimum matching, and for those of you who are not familiar with it, this is you're welcome. This is actually something, if you use a Dismax request handler, is quite a useful configuration, because what this says, what looks at the XML here, it says 2 less than -25, 9 less than -3. So basically, when you have a query text come in, it'll absolutely match 2 of the terms. Between 2 of the terms to 9 of the terms, it will match -25%. Now, it's just the nature of the syntax, but what that means in English is 75% of the terms between 2 terms and 9 terms in the query string. And then beyond that, up to 9 terms, or beyond 9 terms, it'll match all but 3 of those terms. So we're assuming that if somebody is going to continue typing and it's a very long title, it'll have to match all the tokens that they're typing against the fields that we offer to match against. I invite you to, if you're not familiar with this, investigate this further, because it's quite a powerful feature. And then, let's see, oops. And this is the second technical. Let's do this. And then we also added phrase queries, which allow you to actually search for the quoted phrase. C spot run, instead of tokenizing and splitting it into C spot run as separate tokens, it will also have that whole phrase as a preferred search against, or as a phrase search against the different index fields. And then there is another interesting aspect to this particular feature called phrase swap, which is the variance of how well or how accurate, or excuse me, how precise the query term matches the actual content. I just enjoy saying that, so I wanted to add that one as well. And let's see here. And finally, it's a well-supported product. I mean, I hope that I'm impressing upon you that a year ago, I did not know solar. And it's been a true joy for me to learn. And the only way that I've actually come to a place where I can feel comfortable and begin to do innovations with the technology, such as using the auto-suggest component and wiring things up so it looks really cool, is because the community is a very generous community. Great information on the Solar Wiki. There are books now on the technology, whereas when I started a year ago, they just published that first one, the Solar 1.4 Enterprise Search. And as a fundamental understanding of the technology, Lucene in Action is a great book as well. Generous contributors and Lucene Imagination, not as a shameless plug for them, but as a gesture of gratitude. They've really come through for us. So it's a well-supported technology. So our current Lulu search stack, we have a serialized PHP model. We are using Solar 1.4. We've consolidated the schema. We have that. It's more closely related to the products that we offer. We have event-driven updates, which I had mentioned that because the content creators own their content, they're free to update it at any time and as frequently as they like. So we like to keep our content refreshed pretty often. So we have that event-driven, and then the multi-threaded SolarJ indexer. Just as a summary of coming out of the dark days of confusion into a little bit of light and understanding how to use the technology. This is where we're at right now. And this is our overall architecture. We you can see that they're pretty much all on virtual machines. The database that I had mentioned that is the consolidated schema is a physical machine because all our databases are on physical machines, but our Apache servers and the internal search API, the PHP search API, the mod PHP that we use, that's in a VMware instance of Apache, and the requests are routed through a VIP to a bank of Solar slaves that are fed by the master server, which is indexed by the multi-threaded SolarJ indexer. Just an overview of our real implementation. Our next steps, we have to, it's pretty obvious, I'm sure that some of you are thinking, oh boy, yeah, they need to improve their page load times even more. We're working on that. We're soon in the near future to implement faceted browsing. That's a feature that we're working on now. And then to wrap it up with the auto-suggest, because with long-tail content, what do you search for without being guided through the content itself? So that's something that is on our radar that we're currently working on. That's very important to us. So in conclusion, we're an open publishing platform, and I invite you, if you ever have a goal to publish a book, give us a shot because, well, it's free to you and you own the content. So if you want to see it in book form, then you can do it via Lulu. But we're also search consumers. And with our choice of using Solar and Lucene, they positively supported our trying things out, our growth and expansion. And because it's such a well-supported technology and a powerful technology, we've been successful despite ourselves. And as I said, the first thing I said, I want you to remember just these things. I want you to remember these things. It's a highly capable and performant search server, and it keeps pace with our long-tail content, evolving content, and it's a well-supported system. So I really appreciate you attending this presentation. It's been a lot of fun talking with you. I hope that I haven't bored you to death with the Lulu story, but I am if you have any questions, feel free to shoot them out. This is now time to stump the chump. So yes, sir.
How did you go about choosing the warming queries? Well, I guess what do your queries look like? Like what's the most popular query on Lulu.com?
The most popular queries typically are our filter queries that are, because we have filters on the home page. When you hit the home page, we have filters on categories.
Okay.
So we don't facet yet, because we didn't understand faceting at the time. And because we're, as I said, it's like, three big guys trying to get through a door. We haven't had the time built into our iteration schedule to actually work on these things yet. So we use the typical faceted query, or excuse me, the typical filter queries that we use on our homepage to warm up the searches.
I see.
Yeah. And yes, sir.
A lot of publishing applications, you've got content that's old and can be safely sharded or put on a self-service, so it's not going to change. And you've got content that's recent and is changing that needs to have a different technology to work with. With your content, with the fact that users can change, does it present challenges in terms of how you split up the data of the index?
I'm going to answer that with an invitation to bounce ideas off me of what you may think would be an effective way to handle a situation like that, because currently what we do, we don't treat any particular content different than any other piece of content. So it's all there. We don't expire, we don't retire. Unless the user, the content creator themselves retire the content. So it's all in the index. And that's actually something that a colleague of mine had raised as an issue. Well, why can't we just separately index new and old? Keep the old content be less popular or less current in a separate, infrequent, less frequent schedule of indexing and maintenance. So that's something that I'm going to take with me, thank you, to bring up again.
Does that, you're re-indexing your entire content with every 2 week iteration?
We actually have a couple modes of indexing. We have the event-driven indexing, which is actually the event-driven updates to the catalog, which then will give us the most recently updated content. And then we have one index job that will just take the deltas, or the most recently updated content, and it will index only those, because it understands when this content was indexed, and pull only that. But also, just to be comprehensive, we roll through the whole catalog on a weekly basis, and because we partition the whole content into sub chunks that will just make sure that things are updated on a continual basis. Which brings me to another point that I wanted to share with you. Another challenge of a small but very clever company is that we have a very smart release engineer, and he is a very interesting and on occasion challenging individual to work with. Because the next question may be, well, if you can index this whole content in 2.5 hours, why do you even have to roll over a week? Well, because he says so. And so these are other challenges that we have to face. I've been an advocate for the auto-suggest, advocate for faceting, advocate for rolling that, indexing the whole content base multiple times per day, because that's really no sweat. But we have to face challenges internally as well. So it's really a point of being an effective communicator and making a case. So I know that's a whole tangent, but I appreciate your sparking that memory. Anything else that I can? Yes, sir.
You mentioned that you had problems. So I just wonder, at your company, how visible is that? Do you get complaints for their reports? Do you have specific measurements that you do? You track that? Is that something that you started, or was that in place when you got there? How's the performance treated as a measure?
That's a great question. We have different layers. Think of it in terms of stratosphere. The metrics and performance are actually done by a part of the product group that maintain that information that I think we glean from Omniture. And that information gets carried through the chain, through the management chain, over to development, of which we have a collaboration between the user experience group and the market team to improve the performance of the pages. A lot of it has been that we use PHP, and that we use that we're evolving our understanding of how to use it efficiently in producing dynamic content. For instance, another activity that we're working on right now is caching, HTTP caching, web caching the most popular search results. And that's actually being done by the user experience guys, because it just makes sense. As a side note, this was something that when I consulted at Fidelity, just down the street, for their news site, I know it's not a Lulu thing, but caching is what they did for their news updates. And that offers dramatic improvements in response time. So it's a function of a number of groups, and as I had mentioned before, it's a feature or a desirable outcome that is put into this competitive schedule of what to release and when, because of limited resources. So we're currently working on that, and in terms of complaints, actually, I don't recall of any specific complaints. I know that we do have customers that are, happy with what we do. Some of them are ecstatic. Some of them are not so thrilled, as with any other company. So, but I don't have any specific, they haven't been beating on our door. But they have actually commented that recently, as of the past 6 months, because of the improvements that we made, that their experience has been much improved. So, well, I appreciate you coming. Thanks so much. If you want to ask me questions offline, feel free to do so. I think that concludes the presentation.